All right, next gear review. One of the more iconic brands and lineups of the late 70s. We have a Pioneer SX950. Let's see if I can get that into frame a little bit better. Pioneer SX950. Late 70s, made 76, 78. This one is actually from 1976, according to the serial number that I looked on the back. Chunky receiver, heavy receiver, large dimension as shown in the intro slide. Iconic, right? Iconic looking receiver, part of the 50 series receivers, right? The late 70s, mid to late 70s, Pioneer had the 50 series, and then the 80 series were the better known receiver series that they offered at that point in time. Definitely late 70s aesthetic with the kind of the golden glow to the dial face. Shared some features with the 80 series. I'll flash a 950 and a 980 comparison. I do prefer the look of the 950 to the 980 or the 50 series to the 80 series in general. Even though I love wattage VU meters, I don't like the dark meters on the 80 series. They're just not for me. I prefer the light meters on the 50 series. And there were a ton of receivers in this series. It was kind of ridiculous. They had the 450, 550, 650, 750. And that was, we're going to say that was kind of the level 1 receivers. Then you had the 850, 950 as level 2. And then you had 1050 and 1250 as level 3. So why did I separate them that way? Well, the 450, 550, 650, 750, their power was controlled through a power knob, a potentiometer, or a switch, or power switch. The 950 and the 850 have a toggle like this, and then they have a certain layout with the knobs and the switches, and then the 1050 and the 1250, right, they were different as well. So you can kind of lump them together. 1050 and 1250, top of the line was the 1250, right? And then 850, 950 kind of mid-range, and then the more entry level were the 450 through the 750. It's direct coupled, so it's nice, bright, clear sound. 85 watts per channel. To operate this thing is pretty easy. Don't let all the buttons kind of scare you. It has 3 different sets of speakers you can connect to it, A, B, and C. I only think you can run 2 at a time though. Refer to the service manual though. Don't take my word for it. We have MPX noise filtering. We have a muting button to turn muting on or off. We have AM, FM, Phono 1, Phono 2, auxiliary, right? And these are the dials that just kind of go forever, right? They just spin. Oh, I got a stereo signal there for a second. I'm in my basement, so there's really no reception down here, but I saw a flash. And I know that it works. Power, we have bass, treble. We have a tone control on or off. We have 2 turnovers, right, for bass and treble, so we can contour the sound to our liking. We have a low and a high filter. We have tape monitor 1 and 2, a duplication button. I think this is a Dolby adapter, I think. I have to check on that. We have balance. We have stereo and mono. We have loudness. We have volume. And then there's a 20 decibel muting switch that we can engage. Operation is simple. Connections are simple. Basic RCA. This has spring-loaded speaker connects, which I love. I think those are awesome. On the 950, it does have jumpers to separate the amp and the preamp, so that's nice as well. In terms of serviceability, I say it's an intermediate, like the 50 series receivers would be intermediate, and this is kind of middle of the road, but to be honest with you, these are very service friendly. The entire 50 series is fairly service friendly. And when I say that, I'm not really talking much about the design. I'm just talking about getting to stuff. Right now, there's a whole video on this. This came to me as a basket case. It's got issues. You can see some little stains here and there in the face. This is going to come out well before, right? The service video is going to come out, but This was really in rough shape. Oh, and I missed something there. Really rough shape electronically, cosmetically. So I take you through going through the receiver, replacing the caps except for the filter caps. I did the caps, all problem transistors. What else? Some standoffs. But anyway, it's all covered in the video, everything that I did. But again, it's not really that hard to work on. There are a couple of boards. You flex the boards quite a bit. So breaking a wire is pretty common in these. But again, I discuss all of that in the service video. You know, if you're looking for one of these, the big thing on this is going to be cosmetics. I don't know if anyone makes replacement glass, but you don't want to get one of these with glass, assuming you can find glass. It's just a solid piece of glass. So, let's see, knobs, buttons. It seems like a lot of these, got stereo again. A lot of these come with bent potentiometers. I've had to straighten out my fair share on 50 series. I think they sold so many of them that they just led rough lives. People didn't care for them as well as they could have. Or, over the course of 45 years, things just happen. But, the big thing on these would be to look for bent pots, making sure it has knobs and, all the covers and the button covers. Now, because they made so many, and I'm going to talk about pricing and how many of these sell and how frequently they sell, they're easier to find than other receivers. This was the series that came after the X3X series. So like the 939, which is one of my all-time favorite Pioneer receivers, was the predecessor kind of to the 950, right? And then the 950 was the predecessor kind of to the 980. But, so just make sure it's complete. These cabinets now, on the 950 and I believe the 850, but I'm not sure, it's wood veneer, but the veneer on these is, it's pretty thin. The cabinet material is pretty thin, and most of these, when I see them, are losing some veneer. Some veneer has been lost already. I have to do a lot of, super glue, wood glue kind of repairs to the veneer. I had to do it on this one. These are solid walnut, so that makes it nice. So again, cosmetics, just pay attention to those types of things. When you get one of these, if it has not been serviced, there is work that needs to be done. So these are full of problem transistors. This one had a bunch of 2SA 725s and 726s. Those are on the bad transistor list. When I got this, again, it's all covered in the service vid. There was a lot of static and popping and all sorts of crazy stuff because those transistors, they just don't last. And they're the ones that come with the black legs that, it's an easy way to tell, bad transistors if they have the black legs, because the tarnish, I guess, works its way up into the transistor or something along those lines. This also had 1318s. Those are bad. It comes with these blue tantalum caps. Tantalum caps aren't bad per se, but when they fail, they short. So it's a good practice to get into to replace the tantalum caps, as well as all those problem transistors. But again, I think these are pretty easy to work on. I've worked on 850, one or two 950s, one or two or three 1050s, two 1250s, innumerable. I mean, can't even remember, not innumerable, but I can't remember how many 550s, 650s, 750s, and 450s I've worked on. Way more than the big receivers. All right, so those are some of the service things you want to do with these, just, to make sure that you'll get another 10, 15, 20 years out of them. Prices. So prices are kind of all over the place. Since January 12th, now I'm filming this or recording this on March 27th. So in the last, 2.5 months, 21 950s have sold. So there are a lot of these that sell. Pricing is all over the place. Naturally, you'll see the people that, I don't know what they're thinking, right? You'll see these out there for $3,000, for $2,500. I don't know. Well, amazing, right? If you can get that, oh my gosh, do it. Honestly, in restored condition, these are over $1,000, and even that price is all over the place. I think when I can't remember. I think when I did the pricing research for this, I think one of these sold for like $1,800, and it wasn't like a or best offer. It was $1,800. I think that's a lot for one of these. I think one in really, 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 really good cosmetic condition, like perfect cosmetic condition, completely recapped, right? Everything's been calibrated and aligned and all that stuff. $1,200, a thousand plus for sure is probably a decent price. In the middle, and again, there are so many of these that sold. Of the 21 that I looked at, I had a hard time grouping the restored and the working in the 4 parts. So working one like this in this condition, now this has been recapped, right? And there was some additional work done to it, like replacing the bad transistors and all that stuff. So this would be a little bit higher than $800, probably more around the $900 mark. But 800-ish for one that's been working, serviced, maybe partially recapped like this one, maybe has a couple of cosmetic issues. And then one for parts. Now, a lot of the parts that I found when I researched this sold for about $600. I think that's high. I mean, I think you can hold out and get one of these pretty much complete. Like this one was a little bit less than $600. But it was in pretty rough cosmetic shape. So I think you might luck into one if you're willing to, maybe replace a knob or two, or maybe you have a knob or two, or it has, like this one had some crap that was sprayed on it. I had to get it off with acetone. It was nuts. Maybe some veneers missing, some chunks of veneer missing on the sides or something like that. I mean, less than $600, but again, so many of these sold, I had a hard time narrowing it down into these bands, right? Of the for repair, working, and then restored. But, they're nice receivers. I had a 1050 for a long time. I had an 850 for quite a while. I don't mind the aesthetic, and I'm not saying I don't like it. I prefer, for a Pioneer, from the 70s, I still prefer the 939 or the 1010 would be my two that I really like. I wouldn't pass up a 950, a 1050, especially I wouldn't pass up a 1250. I would really have a hard time getting into a 980, a 1080, 1280, 1980, right? I just don't like the aesthetic. Now, if someone pulled up and gave me a 1980, of course I would keep it. Or if I could get one for $500 because they sell for $5, $6, $7, $8,000. But in terms of the series, between the 80 series, the 30 series, and the 50 series, or the 3 series, I like the 3 series the best. Then I like the 50. Then I like the 80. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. I get it. Like, this is a mood that I get into. When I had my 1050, I had a 1050 forever. And it's a beautiful, my wife loves this look. She loves that silver 70s look, But anyway. So I guess that wraps it up for the Pioneer SX950. Again, there is going to be a repair series released on this, so stay tuned for that if you want to see how I got this and then, the finished product here. Go ahead and turn that off. So this is going to be going out 402 vinyl. I mean, it's probably going to be sold by the time this video is released because lately the stuff has been flying off the shelves there. So, but it'll hit the shop and it'll be priced, and you'll have the peace of mind knowing that all the problem parts, fingers crossed, all the typical problem parts have been replaced. If a diode decides to freak out, that just happens. So anyway, as always, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.